tell me a bit about your band. Who and what is LAUDARE?
Okay, so gonna be my part. Okay, so right now LAUDARE is the four of us. It's Almut. She is doing vocals and playing cello. It's Olli who is playing the drums. We rather like to call him, well, Dr. Groove or Dr. Tight. It kind of depends on the situation, I guess. Louise, she is doing the main vocals and playing the bass, and me playing the guitar and doing vocals. Yeah, maybe that's the basic thing.
Very diverse group. So how did it all come together?
So LAUDARE was founded in 2017. It began with Jussi, who played the drums back then. He was former drummer of Amber, and I don't know, like Jussi and Daniel met before, but just for like one rehearsal or something. And I joined a little bit later, so I came to Leipzig and just wanted to play in a band again, and so I found the guys, and it matched. And so LAUDARE was Jussi, Daniel, and me in the first place, and like in 2018, Jussi decided to leave the band because of some personal reasons, kind of. He didn't have any time anymore, and so Olli joined us as a new drummer. So we played a lot of shows together and had some recording stuff and so on in the meantime. And in 2019, Almut joined us. Maybe you want to talk about how this happened?
Or maybe I can tell, because there are actually two different stories. And the one story I just heard like last week when we were on tour, because my perspective on it was that Daniel came to me and asked me whether we want to do some music together, because we knew each other before, and showed me like different projects, also something else with piano and violin and cello and a lot of crazy stuff. So at last I just said, okay, I think I want to play with LAUDARE. I would most like to play with LAUDARE. And the other perspective is that I think you were thinking about growing and were looking for some strings. And then they thought about, Daniel knew that I was playing the cello, so that kind of matched. And then we started playing, and it was a long path to go to come to the point where we are right now, to play shows live with a cello.
Well, let's go to the beginning still. So with this quartet, what were kind of the like founding ideas that all connect you?
Okay, it's actually quite hard to say. Like in the beginning, I think we would, like when Almut didn't finally join the band, we would play basically a very wayward style of screamo, post-hardcore, black metal music that kind of came together quite coincidentally, you could say. Like I would prepare a lot of like material music-wise, and like back then Jussi was still part of the band, and I think until we finally recorded the first album, it took actually only 5 months to prepare, which is a pretty short amount of time, I would say. But that was mostly because like we just had time to rehearse like twice in a week, which is for an amateur band quite a lot. And so I think back then it was basically screamo, post-hardcore, black metal, something like this. And like during the process, like for me, it felt like we need another, like, how would you say, like something more like obviously classic in the band, like, which just gives like a decent like glimpse of like classical music as soon as you start to hear Laudare. So the idea was born to have like a string instrument because it's like the most, well, no, it's not the most, but it's obvious. So yeah, I think that's basically it. And because of this label violent poetry that we used to give ourselves, I think it's basically because in the beginning there was like some poetry that I wrote back then, and as it is in a band, you know, like lyrics is always like a question, and I think a lot of people are afraid of writing, and it was just fortunate that lyrics already existed, so we kind of wrote songs around these poems, you could say. So yeah, it's also about poetry, the music itself. Yeah.
About what is the makings of violent poetry in your mind?
Should I go first? My interpretation of that, I think violent poetry is like the point where something like really beautiful and something really violent and brutal can meet, and I think that translates really well through our music. And also, I think it's this approach, as Daniel said, you know, like writing poems and then putting music to what you're trying to express through the lyrics. So it's oftentimes, I think, with writing music, it's the other way around. The music comes first, and then you put some lyrics to it. And here I see it a little bit the other way. So it's more like scoring a movie or something like that. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, basically, I don't think I have so much to add to what Olli just said. What I find interesting is what he just said, that in our case, the lyrics exist first and then there is the music evolving around it. Which, yeah, like I remember in the beginning when we started as a band and I got from Daniel those lyrics, like those poems he wrote, and I got like the rough music without any screaming or anything on it. And so it was kind of my task as a singer to put those poems on the music. And in the beginning, I was just mind blown on how perfectly it would just fit on there. Like, it was like, okay, like he didn't give me any advice how to do it. Like, okay, I imagine like this part here and this part there or something. I just got this music and I just got those lyrics and it just fit in my head together for the song. So this was kind of cool thing about it.
You don't want to say anything to?
I can. Okay. So maybe like one thought that eventually first came to my mind ever, like when Olli said that's usually about like the poems and then the music comes when it comes down to the band name, to Laudare, and you kind of said like the question about violent poetry and Laudare is quite related. When it comes down to the band name, it was even, you could kind of say the other way around, because like there was this idea of of a meaning of the band's name, and it was like about praise, and like laudare is the Latin word for praise, right? For everyone who doesn't know. And so there was like this idea, but praise was already given. I think it was an English punk band, if I remember correctly. And then there was like this other approach that I came to the studio with, and it was like, okay, maybe we shouldn't look for like the meaning of a word, but rather for its sound, you know? And I was like having this idea of my mind to have a band name that's like na na na. That's what I told to the others, and the others were like, okay, na, that's like, huh? And well, while like checking the internet, I like stumbled upon this word, and it was laudare, and it was even the same meaning, but you know, it had like this language flow, this musical side of the word, and yeah, so I think until now we are all pretty happy with the band name. Well, I am, and I haven't ever heard anyone complaining, so we'll see.
Okay, now I'm ready to add something that connects also to your idea, because it's I'm not. I have to admit that most of the time I don't understand the texts that we sing because like also when I started, Daniel had the idea to make a requiem. So it's a Latin text about also a Christian tradition, a text about when people die that is like spoken and has a lot of musicians already put music to it, and now we wanted to do this as well. So it's not like about the meaning or the content of the text. It's more about the sound, I think, and also how the like this na that comes to. I think you could say it about the text in a whole, and that's also what poetry is like. It's more about the beauty of the words as well, and that that idea also like comes to the music, that music is not okay, we want to say something in words and this is our message, but the music tries to get the idea of what is wanted to said, and it's also about being desperate. I mean, the Requiem is a text about death, and also the other part, like the opposite of being desperate. What is it? Like no, like it's more maybe hope. Yeah, it's about big human feelings, I think.
Big human.
Yeah, it's very interesting how you write music. I would love to hear more about that.
So eventually I'm gonna start. Like, how do we write the music? So I think it's basically me spending like a lot of time at home to kind of write songs and figure stuff out. And whether it's like directly inspired, I don't know, but it's like recently I listened to like a lot of classical music, let's say the past like 3 or 4 years. I think musically it's my main influence, you could say. So I also kind of like privately, but started like studying works of different composers and that kind of stuff, if it's about form and harmony and that kind of thing. So yeah, I would like start writing songs, and whether they are finished or not, but at some point, like, because Louise and me, we are living together, so the step is easy to take to kind of start working together on it. Also, when it comes down to like vocals, especially now when we involve much more clean singing into our arrangements. And so yeah, we do like the first steps, you could say. And then when we meet at our rehearsal studio, we, like I showed to the others, we play, we speak about it, and after some time it's Laudare song. So yeah, so I think like, yeah, you could say I start preparing stuff, and when we do it together it becomes Laudare. That's the way it is.
Okay, I just wanted to add to what Daniel said, that for the new record that's gonna come out later next year, I think it was basically all except for one song was written on the computer. So we didn't have a chance to actually meet and practice these songs together until like a couple of weeks before we went into the studio. But the writing process was all through Daniel and Louisa recording scratches of the songs, and then we finished the arrangements on the computer. Never actually get to play these songs all together that much.
So what Ollie said was basically because of the pandemic that we were not able to really we've been actually touring. Like back then, Almut was already part of the band, but she has not been on tour with us because we haven't been that far together to be able to go on a tour. So the last gigs of our tour actually were cancelled because it was like mid-March and the pandemic hit. So we came back home and suddenly it was like lockdown and like very strange and new situation for everyone. And then given all these rules, we actually wrote the last record, just via we transfer links mostly. So yeah.
I find the question about inspiration quite difficult because I never played cello in a violent band before. I mostly did classical music or a little bit jazz or pop music, and I always did a lot of improvisation on cello. So that's also the way how we work, like come to the rehearsal room and then I just try what fits to the music and I just play different things, and sometimes it's also too loud in the rehearsal room, so then the cello arrangements get final, I think, when we also work on the computer, and that's so I just listen to the music and try to find something that fits well.
I also think the inspiration is mostly coming from the scratches that are pre-recorded, like Daniel is recording guitar stuff or piano, and he's the first person working on it, then I'm the second one with the bass and singing. And I would say I take my inspiration mostly from what I get from him. I listen to what the guitar's playing, and I just find some bass lines for it. And for the singing, I take singing lessons now for about a year, I would say. Yeah, it's about a year. And that's also one thing I take a lot of inspiration from. You learn different styles and you learn to work with your voice, and so it also grows there also grows the how to say the need to try it all and to try all the stuff with the music and how it fits in, kind of.
Yeah, regarding inspiration, I think it's really astounding that we work together as a band and how that works. And because I have no idea about classical music at all. I come from a jazz and rock metal background. But yeah, for some reason, it all works together and it comes natural. I never feel like we have to force anything or something like that. It's just we get the demos and then we try to flesh it out in the room or at the computer, and it never feels like we have to push too hard to get to the final result, which is really cool. But I think it's like a unique chemistry kind of thing.
Actually, it just now came to my mind that we've hidden the fact so far that we are doing next to meeting in the rehearsal room and figuring stuff out together and all that kind of stuff. We are before we go to the studio or anything, we have very sophisticated pre-productions of everything that didn't used to be like that when Ollie was not part in the band, because he is the master of sitting in front of the PC and engineering stuff, you can say. But yeah, that's actually what we do, and this is also the moment when usually let's say second guitar tracks or maybe second voices also for singing Also like cello arrangements. Like I remember like this one situation of the last pre-production we did of one of the songs. Maybe it's a good link, which we now recorded at the Atom session. I think it once was like 128, like how do you call it? Like tracks on your Cubase. So it's like one song, 128 tracks. It's like, okay, that's sophisticated, you could say. So yeah, maybe that's important to say, that there's like pre-productions that we do.
This is really, just to add to that, that's really helpful, because this is really where everything is like gets fixed. So everything gets like 100% composed and it stays like that, which is really helpful when you go into the studio, because then you're super prepared and you know what you got to do at all times.
I also feel that I can add something about the process of the cello, because like in the beginning it was it didn't come very natural for me to play with a cello to this music, or it was like, okay, where is my space? Where can I fit in? I don't know. Everything is loud, and I feel like it has grown a lot because of just listening to the music and getting known to the music that we do, and getting comfortable in the music. And I feel like also the Requiem that we recorded and the new songs that we do now, that I get more ideas what I can do with this classical instrument in this context. And I hope that there's also many more ideas to come. So, for example, we added distortion to the cello now, and like try to understand it more in a not like a just classical instrument, but like maybe also like an electric guitar or something to put effects on it and to find a sound that also connects with the music. So yeah.